Thank you for tuning in to the Black Money Tree Podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, investor, and philanthropist Jerome D. Love. We are committed to teaching you how to build wealth so that you can build your community. At the Black Money Tree, our goal is to empower wealth creation and create economic self-sufficiency in order to empower generations to come. Society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they shall never enjoy. Powered by Wells Fargo Bank. Welcome to the Black Money Tree Podcast.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Black Money Tree Podcast. I'm really excited about this effort, this movement, the Black Money Tree, helping people to build wealth. But this year in particular, it is themed Boom. Boom is building our own marketplace. There are millions of Black-owned businesses that have launched post-COVID, and many of them have the chance of being tremendously successful if they had the right tools to help them to be successful. So one of our goals here at the Black Money Tree is to provide you tools and tips that's going to help you to be successful and help you to build your business. And when you talk about a booming Black business, I think of She's Happy Hair. Now, this is one of the premier companies in this country. I'm not exactly sure where it was published, but I know it was one of the magazines. They had done over $100 million in revenue in recent years. We're going to talk about that. But our guest today is one of the founders and the owner of She's Happy Hair, Mr. Warren Broadnax. So, Warren, thank you for joining us on the Black Money Tree Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's get to it. I want to talk about, we always start about with the past. People see you, read She's Happy Hair, 100 million. They just assume, oh, he got it like that. His mama, his daddy helped him out. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back and talk about how you grew up, and just how you got to where you are today. Go ahead. I'm going to let you start with that.
Jerome, original Houstonian. Born into Houston, right here from Houston. Born in the 80s, man. We originally from Sunnyside, Southside roots, South Park roots. So that's the hood, if you're not familiar with Houston. I grew up, man, me, my mom, and my sister. Very humble beginnings. We definitely was nothing like you just described, for sure. It was nothing with, we didn't come from money. We didn't come from any type of financial acumen. We came from the struggle, I think if anything, my upbringing of watching my mama hustle, watching my dad, we grew up in the 80s, so the war on drugs was big in my family, every male in my family. I have about 5 uncles on my mom's side, and I have 2 uncles on my dad's side. Each one of my uncles probably did at least 6 years in prison. My dad was a struggling drug addict. He's recovering now, doing amazing things now. But my upbringing, that's what I seen. I didn't see very many positive male role models. I seen a strong Black woman provide and do everything she could for me and my family. We grew up in Section 8. We always looked like we were doing a lot better than we were. Yeah. And that's a testament to my mother's hard work and just making it look good, man. Making 15 cents look like $1. So that was the upbringing. Grew up in Houston, 5 different elementary schools. We moved a lot. Yeah. All the way from Southside Houston to Missouri City to Southwest Houston, 4 different middle schools. I was accustomed to being the new person in class. So I like to attest that to my people skills. I was always the new guy. I'm used to introducing myself. I'm okay in new surroundings. Went to Willow Ridge High School, graduated from Willow Ridge High School in 2001, and went to a few special college tours, but no one in my family went to college. So I had no FAFSA paperwork. I had no idea how to fill out college paperwork. Graduated in 2001, and that I found myself not knowing what I was going to do with my life. I had no college paperwork done. I didn't really have a plan. Only thing I knew is that I did not want to be like the men that I've seen growing up in my family, unfortunately, going to prison and in and out of jail. So that summer after graduation, I joined the United States Navy, and it was one of the best decisions of my life. So that was my upbringing, man. Me, my mom, my little sister, moving around a lot, man. And I think a lot of my childhood, it bridges to my current entrepreneurial goals, right? Always, even growing up, I've seen entrepreneurs. I didn't know the term entrepreneur. Back then, we just called him the businessman. Yeah. But I knew he had his ways. He did good sometimes. He did not so well sometimes. But the freedom always appealed to me growing up of like, man, I want to be a businessman. I know when we seen a businessman, he didn't work for nobody. He didn't have a boss, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't always good, but you seen that he was his own man. So that part of it, and being raised around strong black women who had a lot of pride in their appearance, right? So I understood how to navigate and the importance of appearance for African-American women.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. It's interesting. Now let's talk about this. So you didn't have a formal education. You didn't go to college. Yet you sit atop one of the nation's premier African-American owned companies. Talk about that. What was your education? How'd you learn? And then let me back. I know a lot of people that don't have an education.
Right.
Sometimes they feel like, I wish I would. I could have been further along. Do you ever feel that way? And what do you think you missed? So that's kind of 3 questions in one. But talk about education and its role to your entrepreneurial journey or in general.
So even though I don't have a formal education, I am probably one of the most aggressive learners I know. I'm going to go to every seminar. I'm going to read every book. My office is immense in books, right? I'm big on online classes. I'm in about 3 of them right now. YouTube University, anything that I can do to educate myself on entrepreneurship. And I think that comes off of my understanding that I don't have a formal one. So I know that I got to work 3 times harder because I didn't go and get a business degree from college. I don't have an MBA. So I have to be in every circle and try to engage and educate myself as much as possible. Do I wish I would have went to college? Absolutely. Going out of school. I just dropped my son off at Morehouse last week.
Yeah.
Right. And seeing the things that they're going to instill in him, I wish I would have got some of those things and knowing the journey that he's going to take and how that's going to set him up for success. But I went to the military. So I think with that give and take was a lot of discipline. And in entrepreneurship, I think discipline is first, right? You can have all the education in the world, but if you're not disciplined enough to get up and get it every day when you don't feel like it, when the motivation isn't there, the discipline has to be there. Even in the military, you learn everything. You don't get paid until you take a test. So that's still in me. Like you literally, for every rank, you have to test for a rank, and you usually have to sit and study for 6 months to a year. To actually get that test. So education has always been attached to better economic situations for me, although I did not get a traditional.
Yeah. See, I think I got a degree at the University of Texas at Austin, and ultimately I do absolutely nothing with it. So that was $70,000, $80,000. I'm not going to say down the drain, but what I got from it was my network. It helped me to grow and expand as a person.
Right.
Because it was the first time out of my parents' house. I thought I knew everything. When I got there and then you start realizing that you don't know everything. It's the first time ever. My parents were very structured. So it was, you always on time. You get up at a certain time. So I just assumed everybody else was this way. But then you start experiencing everybody else. And then you kind of like, oh, they must have missed something. Let me show them that they wrong. And I'm going to show them the right way.
Right.
And then people start saying, who you think you are? You think you better? And then you start learning how to be a better leader. Okay, well, I need to get this done. But if they don't like me, they ain't going to follow me. So even though they late, I got to say, oh, hey, how you doing? How's everything good? So those were the types of things that I learned. Wouldn't trade it for the world. But what I tell my kids is, I'm on education, just dropped my daughter off at Howard.
Okay.
But
that's right.
what I tell my kids is go with a purpose.
Absolutely.
Don't just go, like my parents just said, go get a degree.
Right.
So I don't even think they asked me, what are you majoring in? Wow. I just went, I got a degree in corporate. If you ask my mama right now, what did I major in? She probably wouldn't be able to tell you.
Right.
She could tell you I went to University of Texas at Austin. That's about it. Because it wasn't a purpose. So my oldest, I say, get you a finance degree. She wants to be a lawyer. She wants to be in business. I said, well, hey, listen, one of the things I didn't have was that financial background. Most of the stuff I've done out of my pocket. I don't have no bank loans and finances and all those type of things because I had no clue that that's what you were supposed to do. My dad was just old school, spend less money than you make. Don't use credit. Those are the types of things that he taught me. So, but the last point I'll say on that is my brother, he's an entrepreneur. Happy Scrappy mobile dog grooming company. Okay. He has a couple trucks in San Antonio, does mobile dog grooming. He has a janitorial company. I think he had a tax franchise at one point. Make more money than all of us, but no degree.
Right.
Because as you say, in his mind, I should have had that degree. Everybody told me I was supposed to agree. I got to work harder than the others because I don't have this
Absolutely.
degree. And for me, if you ask me, your success is your work ethic and your discipline. And education is important, but if you don't have that work ethic with it, you ain't going to be able to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Now, I started out 100 million because that was the article that was written. And I know that make everybody get excited.
Yeah, right.
But that ain't $100 million in your pocket.
I
You
wish
know
it
what I'm
was.
saying? There are a lot of bills you got to pay with that. It's
Absolutely.
like we got a contract with the Fort Bend County Distributing Mills, and we say $12.6 million. It sounds good, but that wasn't $12.6 million. We had to run a program with
Absolutely.
that. So talk about that in running a business, managing your money, the perception. Warren got $100 million. You know what I'm saying? Talk about that.
Of course, from the outside, like you said, the big number always looks good, right? But number one, like you said, you got to run this business. And when you're running a business, most people outside of a business owners don't understand, even with all that money, you usually the last one to get paid, and you may not still get paid, right? It's still times. And like you said, most entrepreneurs, we don't understand finance. We didn't come up with finance degrees. And African-American entrepreneurs, we haven't had many advantages or opportunities to get finance. So all of that money is being used to not only run the business, but reinvest and grow the business, right? So first person getting paid is firstly the suppliers. I don't have nothing to sell. I got to buy products, right? So that's half of your margins, 70% of your margins there. Then you still got to have people to sell your products so that you can grow. Pay for operations. You got overhead. You got locations. You have employees. You have all type of bills, right? That you really don't get a chance to see any of that money go in your pocket. You look good on your balance sheet. I'm not your balance sheet, but on your income statement. But then once you start doing those deductions and get down to that bottom line, people don't see that number, and that ain't the number that we project. But it sounds good, right? I think operating a business is one of the most hardest things to do, and having that discipline to put it back in your business. Because what people don't understand, if I would have put that 100 million in my pocket, I would have put the first 100,000 and would have never got to 100 million because your business wouldn't have grown. You have to reinvest in yourself all the time, right? I treat the business as like, I'm very visual. So I look at the business like a loaf of bread. Right? And that's how I look at the money of the business, like a loaf of bread. And my analogy with that is, if you cut slices off that loaf of bread and eat them, you're not going to have a loaf for very long. Right? That loaf is going to be gone. But if you eat crumbs, you just eat a few crumbs off that loaf. That loaf go exist for quite some time. And that's the way we operate the business when it comes to paying ourselves, paying our employees. We're going to make sure that we only get the crumbs so that this loaf can grow, and we're not cutting it in half to where we basically are out of business.
Yeah. So talk about, you're in a business that's been dominated by non-African Americans, but African Americans are the primary consumers. How did you break into that industry? Talk about how you got into this business.
Originally, I got into She's Happy Hair. My partner, he called me one day. I was a Houston firefighter at this time. So I was working only 2 days a week, 2 24-hour shifts. I had 5 days off a week, and I always had entrepreneurial aspirations prior to this. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've drew up informal business plans prior to. So, and tried to kind of pitch to everybody, but I was a broke guy, dreaming. Nobody want to get any money. You broke, get out of here, bro. You ain't got no money. So, one day working an extra shift at the fire department, because that was my second gig. I would just work extra days on fire trucks. My business partner, Marcus Biles, gave me a call. Now, we had a few hustles we've done before, right? Might be something going on at the race park on an August Saturday. We might call each other and be like, let's go to Sam's to get a few packs of water and sell the water in the parking lot for $1. Right? Pay $3 for a 24 pack, selling for $1. We out there 5 hours, we make about $400-500. Those little hustles we both had amongst each other. So he called and approached me in August of 2012 and was like, hey man, I got an idea. I'm extra shift at the fire department. I'm like, what you got? He was like, we should sell hair. I was like, man, I think that's about the craziest idea you could ever tell me, man. Why would you call me talking about selling hair? I don't know nothing about hair. You don't know nothing about hair. Why would you call me with this? And he was like, man, I know some guys. Now this is early August of 2012. He was like, I knew some gentlemen that were friends of his that made $4,000 in a weekend of 4th of July selling hair. I So I'm working on a 24-hour shift at the fire department for $200 for 24 hours, and I'm real firefighting. Like if a fire goes down, I got to go and put my life on the line.
Yeah.
So I can only make Friday, Saturday, Sunday $600.
Yeah.
Like, you telling me they made $4,000 in a weekend selling hair? Like, they made $4,000 in a weekend selling hair. I said, just give me a little time to think about this.
Yeah.
And so I always use that lesson, first of all, to aspiring entrepreneurs. You never know where your opportunity is, right? You cannot dismiss anything. You got to kind of stay open-minded. So it was at that point, it was like, okay, this may be an opportunity. The money is definitely there. I know nothing about the industry, being very honest with myself. And it was like, okay, what are my pros and cons? And at that point, I knew the one thing I did know, I was a single man. So I was raised by black women. So I understood black women. I was single, I had a few friends, and I was raised by my mother and all of my aunts and my cousins. So I was familiar with black women. The second part I knew is I didn't know anything about hair. So I was like, I have to figure out, how do I learn about the product? So what I would do I think like a week later, I decided I'm going to do it. Got in my mind, I now work for myself. At that point, in my mind, I was like, I now work for myself. So what I would do, instead of going to the fire station on my extra days, I would start polling. I would walk into beauty salons. I was like, as a male who gets my hair cut, anytime a female walks into the barbershop, I'm excited. Everybody's excited because it's just the energy of like, okay, this is a woman. How can we talk? How can we help you, right? So I'm like, I wonder, does that work if a man walks into a woman's space? Like, will I be as welcomed in my energy? So I would walk into beauty salons, and I found out I was asking questions. Hey, my sister sent me here to buy some hair. Tell me about it. I ain't know nothing about it. And they would tell me, and I would spend hours at the counter talking to the women about hair. And, oh, how does it cost? How much is this? And playing dumb the whole time, learning. And when I seen I was wearing out my welcome, you tell when you kind of getting on their nerves and they kind of like buy something and leave, I would just be like, I think I'll just send her in here because I don't really know what's going on. Thank y'all for your time. I did that for 2.5 weeks straight, and I would do multiple a day. And during this time, my friends who knew my schedule, who knew I was off as a firefighter, they would call me because we used to go work out. We go to the bar, happy hour, and they would call me and, Warren, hey, man, let's go hang out today. And I would tell them, nah, man, I work for myself, bro. Man, what you mean you ain't at the fire station? I'm like, nah, man, I got my business now, man. I work for myself. And they would laugh at me. They thought it was a joke. But I always tell that to aspiring entrepreneurs. When you got a vision, it's your vision. Everybody in your circle is not going to see your vision. And a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs will quit at that point because they feel ridiculed by the circle. But those same people who laughing are the same people who look at me now like, oh, he's a genius. He's seen it. So you got to follow your vision. So about 3 weeks of actually polling salons and walking in, and I was very motivated. I didn't have cable at my house at that time, my apartment at that time. I was watching a lot of Baby Boy. If you watch the movie Baby Boy, when he walk in selling them dresses, I was like, if Jody can sell some dresses, I can sell some hair. Shout out to Tyrese and John Singleton. So that was a lot of my motivation. So I was like, okay. So about 3 weeks later, me and Marcus, we finally met up and we bought our first batch of hair. We bought it off the World Wide Web. To be completely honest, we didn't know too much about it. We went on. We only had $900 collectively. $800 to $900. The tell, he says 8, I says 9. I can't remember, but I know I gave him every dollar that was in my bank account, and it was $450. Yeah, and he did the same. Our hair came in about a week later, and we immediately started to sell it. That was not a good batch of hair. It was terrible. I think every customer I sold it to, they called me back and they wanted their money back. But I came into business with the goal of doing long-term business. So I did not do bad business and not answer the phone. I went and met those same ladies and I heard them out and I replaced everything because I was in it to build relationships and do long-term business. And that was the beginning of She's Happy Hair, straight out the trunk of the car for about 6 months, all over Houston. I didn't have AC in my vehicle and I was all around town meeting women selling them bundles.
So, talk about, now you guys have grown. Your business is international. You like, I talked to Marcus and y'all like Frank Lucas. Y'all going directly to the suppliers and bringing it. Talk about expanding internationally, specifically as a black man. Talk a little bit about that process.
I think that where the military comes in for me, right? I'm well traveled,
just like Frank Lucas.
There you go, just like Frank Lucas, right? Right. He had those ties to the military. They were bringing them in, flying them in. So that base knowledge of like, I know I can navigate any situation in any locations. We had the confidence to go and fly overseas to China to meet the manufacturers, and we were not welcomed very well. To be completely honest, we didn't go meet them until maybe 2 years in the business. maybe 2-3 years in the business, we were spending millions with them by the time before we went and met them. And they predominantly deal with me because at that point in time in the business, I was the person ordering the hair and dealing with all the emails and everything. But when I went to meet them, me, Marcus, and another one of our partners, we flew out there to China to meet them because even though the hair is sourced from all over, the manufacturing is done in China because this is where the cheap labor is. So even though they source it from India, Malaysia, and all different countries, the manufacturing is done in China. So when we went there, we flew out there to Guangzhou, China, probably about 2015, and we left the hotel. I think one of our bags got lost in international travel, so we had to go to like a flea market to get some clothes. We were trying to dress up a little bit, so we like trying to find a little dress shirt or something since our suitcases got lost, and we couldn't catch a cab back. No cabs would stop for us because we was the only black people in this little Providence. Marcus is a veteran as well, so we both are comfortable everywhere we are, very aware, but we're comfortable. So we had to call our supplier and like, hey, we need you to send us a car, not to our hotel, but to get us from this flea market because nobody will give us a ride. Well, they sent the car, and the car passed us up 10 times.
Yeah.
And I'm calling them back. I'm like, hey, the car keeps passing us up, and we waving them down. And they were like, well, they only see 3 black guys standing there. Where are you all? We're the black guys standing there. And when we finally met them, we had a 3-year relationship. Literally, we were sending millions of dollars to them at the time. And they told me, because I was very standoffish about letting them see my personal life. It was a very strictly business relationship. And they were like, the way you conduct your business and how stern you are with us and how shrewd you are, we assume you are an old white man.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally said that. So at that point, they gave us a dog and pony show, but I can tell that they were a little bit more surprised like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these black guys doing this. And they raised our price as soon as we came back.
Wow.
They raised as soon as we got back, not within probably like a week and a half, they raised our prices like $5 per piece.
Now let's talk about. I don't know if you read Shoe Dog. That was
Nike.
Phil
Right.
Knight's book.
I haven't read it, but
He talked about how he built. I forgot the name. It was like Blue Ribbon or something before it was Nike. He had a distributor in China.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only distributor of the shoes. He started building his business, kind of sound like you guys. And maybe that's their culture. I don't really know. And ultimately what he said, if what he said happened in the book, is they called me and said, we want to meet with you. He came down and they said, we want your company. You know, this is how much we going to give you for it. And it was no question. He had kind of shot himself in the foot because that was his only manufacturer. So he said he kind of danced around. Oh, okay, yeah, let me go back and let's finish up the deal. Then he started finding other distributors. So he went to, I think he said Mexico, found another distributor for some shoes, created another line, called it Nike. Started slowly but surely selling the Nikes and placing less orders of this Blue Ribbon.
Right.
And then they said it was some type of big shoe expo and where they launched the Nike. And then, of course, they were upset and da-da-da-da. But how would you, I mean, I guess the point is that you got to know how to operate with different cultures. And how did you navigate that?
A lot of similarities. I haven't read that book, but a lot of people recommend I have it. I just haven't read it yet. But so at that time, they were our sole supplier.
Yeah.
Right? They were our sole supplier. And I went with the intention, because I knew we blew very fast. So I was like, I know that the potential in this industry, this is a niche market, and we have something here. So my intentions was to go to China and talk partnership. Because I'm like, if I can get in better terms with these people and they can actually start giving me hair on consignment, or we can do some type of partnership, we can completely take over America. So I went to talk to them about partnering up. And I had a translator, and I spoke English, but they play the game in that culture where they act like they don't, and they had a translator. And the translator would translate every word but partnership. They never responded to the 10 times that I spoke of partnership, because once I started learning what was going on, I was like, well, I'm going to keep making sure I'm not tripping. So, tell them about the partnership, or tell them, we really want to be partners. Never a response back. So once we came back, I knew then that I had to diversify my supplier market.
Okay.
And I did meet with another supplier that I was out there with, that I did talks with, and we made small orders with, and he was way more welcoming because he understood our potential, but he didn't have the quality of the product that my customers expect. So although he had the knowledge and he wanted to grow with us, and we flew to the very rural parts of China, and he literally was really wanting to partner up. It's like, this could be your wing. You guys can fly here. But if the quality is not right for the customers, the opportunity isn't right. So we did diversify, and we currently, at that time, that was 2015, they had about 95% of our business, and right now I would say they have probably about 8%, and I don't take meetings with them anymore. They call and they have to talk to other people on the team. I won't even take meetings with them anymore because I really didn't appreciate that disrespect. I really didn't.
Okay. No, that's interesting. There's so many questions, so many things I want to ask you, but I guess what would be the one thing, if you could go back and do anything differently, what would it be?
I would not be so quick to give away ownership to my business.
And that was the question I was going to ask you too, because you told me about that, but you wanted to partner with them. Would you have wanted to partner with them still, knowing what you know now? But go ahead.
With them, probably not, because they don't respect me. So you can't be business partners with that. But coming from humble beginnings and growing up with all my friends, like I was always the one that I always had a job, but I always had very bad money management skills.
Okay.
So I'm like, I always go work. I'm the hardest worker, but hey, I'm gonna need $100 till Friday, to my payday. So I felt like I owed everybody a lot once I came into business, and I wanted to pay them back since I had created something and bring them in. And I just feel like we brought in certain people early on, like, hey, you want to be a partner? All right, I got the idea. I got everything. You partner, and I give you 30% of it, right? I just need you to go operate that thing. I would approach those situations a lot more differently, and I would just hire those people and keep all the equity to myself. Because
family, friends?
Friends. Not family, but friends.
So
some of them worked out, but most of them didn't, and I really would approach that differently. And I tell aspiring entrepreneurs that now, like, you got to treat your business like, what if your idea works? Because at the beginning, we got these great ideas, and then usually we'll use family, friends, close circles, and be like, well, I know Christian's good at accounting, so I'll bring her in for 30% and she'll be the accountant. And then I know he's good at marketing, I'll bring him in for 20% and he'll be the marketing. But what if they don't have your passion and your work ethic? They got the equity at that point. So if your work ethic, your customers do compensate, and that blows up to a $50 million business, you got somebody that got 30% equity that ain't doing nothing. And although they lazy, they ain't stupid. So they not gonna give that equity away. You're stuck in that marriage.
And the unfortunate thing, I think, when you're starting out, you're looking at, I ain't got $2,000 a month to pay.
Absolutely.
And you look at 2,000 times 12. That's what, $24,000 a year, 10 years, that's $240,000 versus 30% of $100 million.
And there you go.
That's a small investment to make.
Right.
But when you ain't got it, and that's the way you try to negotiate.
Absolutely.
So, but I think ultimately you got to understand, and I talk about mentors and advisors, and I talk about tormentors. That's the opposite of mentors.
Right.
Those that give you good advice. And one of the things that I say, like KRS One said, if you don't know the history of the author, then you don't know what you read. So you got to know the history, the work ethic, the character of the people you're going in business with to determine if they're the type of people that you want to work with.
Absolutely.
So this has been a great conversation. The light is flashing red, so I know that means we're out of time.
Okay.
Real quickly, just one or two nuggets. Like someone thinking about starting a business, what would be the one or two things that you would tell them just to get started?
Number one, don't do it for the money, right? I think kind of like you said, you told your son, you got to do something that you really love, right? Because if it works, it's go get to work. I don't care. So if you don't like it and it's money, and once you got a little money in the bank and you still got to wake up and do it, you're not going to want to do it the same way, and you're not going to be successful at it. My two top tips for every entrepreneur, every chance I get it, it's more of a mindset thing with me. So number one, you got to be fearless. Right? Yeah. When you're in entrepreneurship, you don't know what you don't know. And it's always different every day. You have to be fearless. You just got to go anyway. That's the first thing, is being an entrepreneur. Be fearless. I don't care if you got $100 million or $100. You gonna have a little apprehension. Be fearless and go anyway. And number two is you got to be relentless, because failure is the most consistent thing in entrepreneurship. And you got to get up from that failure and just be relentless at it every day, because people hear the 100 million, but that don't come every day.
Yeah.
That comes in the accumulation of overcoming obstacles. So you have to be relentless to get there.
Yeah. No, I agree. Talk a little bit about it. I didn't talk about it. You guys used to always, early on, y'all were at Black Expo. Y'all had 1-2 booths. I was telling Marcus, I think on his episode, I was at Grand Lux 2 days after Expo one year, and I saw him, and he pulled money out of his pocket and say, there go my booth for next year. How important were those type marketing opportunities? And you guys have some innovative. I saw the one where the guy got down on his knees his proposal. Where do y'all have some very innovative, cutting edge marketing, and you use social media very well. Talk a little bit about your marketing and outreach, and how do you make that work?
So the marketing strategy from day one of She's Happy Hair is, number one, make the customer feel like a star. I'm a man. I don't wear weave. I never have. So understanding that with social media, when we came about, basketball wives had just came too. So every woman was watching this new wave of basketball wives, and they wanted to mimic that behavior. Well, I wanted our social media to make our customers feel like that. So if you bought hair from She's Happy, not only were you going to get a great experience, because I know you don't get that with the others when you shop with them in this industry. So that's a leg up that we have. But we're going to post you on our social media, and we're going to talk you up. Look at Christian looking beautiful with her Brazilian body wave, right? Yeah. That affirmation is going to make you feel like something. Girl, you see they showing me on the site. I feel like a star. I feel like I'm on TV. That was first. The second thing, as far as our radio marketing with our jingle, is we wanted to talk directly to the customer. We understood that everybody don't speak this language. We understood that some people were going to think it's ghetto, some people that were going to want to like it. We wanted to talk to our customers. Yeah. So that was our main thing. When we originally dropped the jingle, we knew it was a little hood. We knew it was a little, but that's us. Like, I'm a Black entrepreneur. I'm a military veteran. I'm from the hood. I got tattoos everywhere, but that doesn't mean I disrespect women or I'm a bad person, but I am of the culture. This company is of the culture, and we wanted to talk to the culture. So in a lot of our marketing, we try to make sure that we reflect every aspect of the culture, from the a stout judge that comes and purchases our bundles, all the way to the stripper that comes and purchases our bundle, to everything in between, to the college student on our first day. We try to make sure that they see a bit of them in some aspect of our marketing, for sure. Okay.
So we're out of time, but I did want to give you a minute. Talk about your social media, your handles, what you got coming up. Just, it's a lot of people viewing. Let us know where we can find you. What else you got coming up?
Oh, okay. Social media, Warren Broadnax, WarrenBroadnax. That's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everything. What do I got coming up? A lot of motivation, right? I'm currently working on my book. I can't drop the title yet, but I am working on my first book. I know you wrote a few. Extremely inspired by that. So that, a lot of speaking engagements, and the youth. I'm really trying to find ways to build a curriculum for entrepreneurship for youth, whether they're in college or not. But I think that they just have to see it and hear it in layman's terms. So I'm working on building a few curriculums for that, and building out the She's Happy Foundation, right? We've been over 7 years in business. 7 years of doing give backs with our She's Happy Foundation. We'll have our give back this Saturday, actually, where we'll be giving away over 1,000 backpacks here in Houston. We just gave away over 1,200 in Dallas last week. So continuing to empower and encourage our community and enlighten myself.
So wonderful. There you have it, Mr. Warren Broadnax. She's Happy Hair. Thank you so much for joining us on the Black Money Tree podcast, and much success in the future. And I want to thank everyone out there who's tuning in, who's listening to the Black Money Tree podcast. And I want to also encourage you to join us live. This is our 20-year celebration. It's themed, boom, building our own marketplace. Nobody's coming to save us. If we going to build our communities, it's going to be because we build our communities, and we got to have the resources to do so. And that's about building strong businesses and having the wealth and resources to do so. So go to the website, theblackmoneytree.com. We have all kinds of resources and tools to help you be a success. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and join us for our 20-year summer celebration in Houston, Texas, building our own marketplace. Until next time, thank you for joining us on the Black Money Tree podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Black Money Tree podcast. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you want more content like this, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time.